Hey guys, Neophotos here. Sorry it's been a couple weeks since I've done one of these. I just get busy and sometimes I just can't find a moment to actually sit down and record one of these little near talks. I don't know if they're podcasts really, but whatever it is, sometimes I just can't find the time to do it. And this week I thought I would actually talk about one of the things that gets in the way of me having time to do this or other different things. So this episode is just going to be sort of like talking about part of my daily routine that isn't related to my art specifically. So if you don't care about something that has nothing to do with the Near Hente website or with the artwork I do or anything like that, you can skip this episode. Like, that won't hurt my feelings. I understand. But if you're curious about it, then by all means feel free to listen to the rest of this ramble. So I am a person who has a lot of hobbies. I really like hobbies. I'm the type of person who, anytime I enjoy something, I end up trying to take a stab at doing it. So I've done a wide variety of things. I won't talk about most of them here, but I do a lot of different things. Some of them I do for a long time. Some of them I've stopped doing. Some of them I have stopped doing but want to get back into doing. One of those things is I have 2 YouTube channels that are dedicated to recording AI versus AI wrestling matches in the WWE video game line. And I've talked about it a couple times here and there in like my chat box or whatever, so if you follow me, there's a chance you've seen me mention it offhand. It's not like a big revelation. It's just something I started doing. Well, let me talk about the big channel of the 2 first. It's called Ultimate Destiny Wrestling. This isn't an advertisement or a plug or a call to action, but if you're curious about either of the channels I talk about here, I will put links in the description on the YouTube video. I don't think they'll be on the Near Hente site where I post it there, but if you watch this on YouTube, the links will be there. If you're just curious and want to check it out. So, Ultimate Destiny Wrestling is the big one of the 2. I've always kind of liked the idea of making licensed characters in the wrestling games that I play, because I'm a wrestling fan and I like the wrestling games that I have since I was a little kid. The first time I did it, I was a teenager. I don't remember exactly how old. I would guess like 14 or 15, but I'm not sure. Maybe older. I was old enough that I had seen the Ultimate Battle of Ultimate Destiny by Lemon Demon or Neil Cicierega. I liked that a lot, and I recreated it on whatever the latest WWE game was at the time. And I didn't have a YouTube channel or anything at the time. I'm not even sure if YouTube existed yet. It might have. But I basically spent a week or so, I think I was sick and bedridden, and I just spent that time making these celebrities and characters from fictional properties and whatever. And then I rigged it as best I could so that Mr. Rogers would win, because he won in the music video. And I made him the number 30 entrant in the Royal Rumble, and I gave him the highest stats, and he did win. And I had this little VHS recording camera that recorded, I think it just recorded black and white. I don't really remember, but it was a VHS camera, and I pointed it at my TV, and I played the 30-man Royal Rumble with all these celebrity characters in it. And then I showed it to my family, and that was it. But fast forward to 2013, and or maybe it was 2014, but I was playing WWE 13, and I don't know what it was that sparked it, but I just got the itch to try something similar. I thought, you know what? These games have a story mode or a universe mode where you go through and these rivalries happen between the characters and there's title changes. and I just got really into making several licensed characters in a second game. Like I had my main game that I was playing, then I made a second account on the Xbox 360 to make these characters. And I already had a video capture device because I was doing Let's Plays. So I just started recording matches, and I made this channel, Ultimate Destiny Wrestling, where I would upload one match per day, or 2 matches if I got a request. So the request matches were like non-canon, and it's been going ever since then. I'm currently in the 6th season, I think, of it. And like it has like annual pay-per-view events and all this stuff, and it's a fairly respectable sized channel for something like that. I don't do commentary on it because there's a match every day, so it'd be 365 videos I have to do commentary for a year, and that's too much. So it's just the matches with the default game commentary featuring like superheroes and celebrities and stuff, and I like that a lot. I'm currently in the process of making characters on it in WWE 2K19, which just came out, and it's a fun thing I do, and the way I find time to do it, and this goes for GW0X, which I'll talk about in just a minute, which is the other YouTube channel that's basically the same thing. But when it gets to be about 10 o'clock, the people I live with are all in bed, and that's when I stop working on the art. Because a typical day for me, I wake up, I draw something on paper and scan it, then I eat lunch, and then from after finishing lunch until 10, with the exception of like taking a break to like eat supper, I'm basically inking and coloring what I sketched that morning. And there are exceptions with like bigger projects and stuff, but like I try to get something out every day, and that's basically how I do it. So almost all of my day is dedicated to doing artwork, and then 10 o'clock hits and I need to deprogram from that. I don't know how relatable this is, but for me, I get like into this groove where it's hard to turn it off. I'm just at that point, I'm so used to working that like if I try to go to sleep, I'm just working in my brain while I'm trying to fall asleep, and I have trouble sleeping, and it causes problems. So what I do is I stop when my roommate goes to bed, and I boot up my PS4, hook up my capture device, and record UDW. And that's not every night. Often, like, sometimes I'll spend that time making characters for UDW. Sometimes I will spend that time working on a Let's Play or something else. Sometimes if I'm really behind on work, I will just switch back to doing the paper drawings like I do in the morning. That's usually just when I'm like really behind on something, but typically it's better to deprogram by doing something kind of mindless. So I'll record UDW, and then because it's kind of boring to like just watch the matches, if I'm recording like 5 or 6 matches or however many I'm doing that night, I have an old laptop that doesn't really work that well, but like the keyboard's busted on it, but I have a USB keyboard that I hook up to it, and then I just get on that computer, and sometimes I'll watch like YouTube videos or something. But here lately I've been using that time to work on my writing. Some of you may have noticed I have some short stories that I've been posting to the Near Hente site, and that's when I do those, is while I'm recording UDW. So yeah, I have that channel, and then I also have a second channel that's like that called GW0X, or Global Wrestling 0X. UDW is Ultimate Destiny Wrestling after the Ultimate Battle of Ultimate Destiny. And GW0X is basically the same thing, but with original characters. Basically, whenever I watch wrestling that isn't mainstream WWE, like the main roster WWE, like when I watch NXT or New Japan or Ring of Honor or any of the indie shows I sometimes catch, or occasionally Lucha Underground, I always just start fantasizing about my own leagues. And so after I've been doing UDW for a couple years, I think I did it for maybe a year and a half, and then I just started making these characters in WWE 2K14, and I just made a whole original roster. I spent a lot of time on it because it was like I was just passionate about it. I made all these characters and custom arenas and titles and stuff. It's the same thing I did for UDW, except unlike UDW, I never really upgraded, so I just kept doing 2K14. I stopped doing GW0X for about a year, and then I came back to it because I just felt this kinship with it, and I missed it. And I mostly record that on Saturdays when I have a weekly phone call I make with a friend, and it's convenient to record those then. So I just basically record like a week's worth of content on Saturday night. And that channel is a lot smaller. Like UDW is around like 4,000 subscribers, like not a substantial amount, but again, for what it is, I think that's pretty nice. I think GW0X is less than 100. It's just like there's a couple of people who follow it, but I mostly do that one for me. Like, it makes me happy to do it. I'm attached to those characters for whatever reason. I've actually recently for GW0X started making making a whole new roster. GW0X had a split roster where there was like there was a show once on Mondays that started the men, and a show on Fridays that was an all-women's roster. And then on Wednesdays between those two would be like a smaller mini show that had a mixed roster. And I've been getting more and more into the idea of having a wrestling company that has a whole bunch of mid-card titles, one for each continent. And I liked that idea a lot, so I've started, but to do that, you kind of need to have just one roster if you're going to have that many titles. So I've been making this all-women's roster in WWE 2K18, which at the time was the most recent one. And I'm kind of transitioning away from the old 2K14 roster to this brand new all-women's roster that has like a title for each continent, and then a tag team title and a world title. I'm getting more technical than I expected to talking about it, but it's just what I've been doing like basically every night for the past couple months is one of these various things that I'm talking about, like recording this and making these characters for this or whatever. It's the only time I like cut loose and have fun. Cut loose in like quotation marks, but it's like the only time I relax and have fun during the day. So it's on my mind a lot, I guess, and that's probably why I wanted to talk about it. I just like talking about it because it's my fun. But yeah, the new roster that I've been making, I'm making 2 new rosters now since I'm moving UDW to 2K19. And I'm making this all-women's roster in 2K18. But I'm having a lot of fun with that. I made a brand new opening video for the weekly show that's going to be on the all-women's roster on the GW0X channel. I'm excited for that. But yeah, so that's just like a little slice of like part of my life that isn't Hinte. And yeah, it is what it is, I guess. Like, I want to say up front, like, I think it's dumb. Like, it's a silly, pointless thing that I do, but it's because it's silly and pointless that it allows me to kind of unwind at the end of the day, because it's like, there's a low investment. Like, I stress up a lot about how good my art is and trying to make it work. I don't have to stress about if these things are good because they're inherently kind of pointless. People watch them, like people besides me watch both channels, especially UDW. But like there are people who follow GW0X, even if it's only like 3 people. It's still, you know, the people like it, and I'm touched by that. Like somebody made a wiki for GW0X, and I contributed a lot to it when I found out about it. But I think it's dead now. I don't think anyone's updating it anymore. But it's like somebody liked it enough that they made a wiki about it, which blew my mind. UDW has a wiki too, but I made that myself. That wasn't like a fan thing. I just wanted to chronicle like title reigns and stuff. But somebody actually made a wiki for GW0X without me asking for it, or like I went to make one because I thought, you know what, this might be a fun thing to do. Before I started recording it again, I just after having a year off, I was nostalgic for those characters, so I thought I'd make a wiki, and it existed already, so that was crazy. But yeah, I think that's probably about all I have to say about those. Again, if you're curious to see them, I don't expect anyone to go and subscribe to those channels or anything, but if you're just curious what they look like, I'll put the links in the YouTube description just so you can check it out. But that's not, I'm not encouraging anyone to go follow my other channels. Like, that's not what this was about, but it'll be there. So that being said, let's move on to our closing segment, which I'm tentatively calling the Mix and Match Challenge, which is another wrestling thing because there's a mixed match challenge in wrestling. And so if you're new, basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a system I have set up to select 2 random characters, and then we'll speculate about what a comic starring those characters would look like if I were to do that. So this is where we get back into my roots here with the hentai stuff. So let's go ahead and find out what our pairing is. I don't know yet, so let me randomize it. Alright, so our first one is number 72 off of my list, who is a Hiryu Rin from My Hero Academia. Oh, that's gonna be a tough one. He's a background character, basically. I don't know why he's on here. Alright, that'll be interesting. Let's see who the second one is. Oh wow, okay, so our second one is number 242, which is Taki Tsunozaki from Food Wars. Oh wow, this is aesthetically, this is actually not a bad pairing. Like, they almost look like they could be mother and son. But they're both like really minor characters in anime that I like. Taki's I actually really like Taki's design. I've thought about stealing her design for Applebridge, or maybe just drawing her by herself, but I didn't know if anyone would recognize her. She's just like, okay, so let me try and summarize who these characters are. Hiryu Rin, I'm just gonna call him Rin the rest of this video, is he's a student in UA High School in My Hero Academia, and his superpower, or his quirk, is covering himself in scales. And that's all I know about him. I don't know if he has personality. I think the My Hero Academia wiki talks about him being like willing to work with others, but like that's not much of a personality trait. And then Taki is this food critic who serves as a judge in Food Wars, where all the competitions are about cooking, and she's like really cynical, kind of bitchy, adorable. I think she's super cute. So yeah, how would we bring these two together? That's the tough one. So the premise for all of these is that it's set in my Exoverse, which is my crossover universe, where like just a bunch of things exist all at the same time. So in this school, or in this universe, the UA High School exists, and so does this cooking school. I don't remember the name of the school from Food Wars, but it exists too. So if Taki is tied to the school, and I don't think she specifically is, but I think if we were going to make something happen with these characters, probably the best thing to do would be to have some kind of school versus school competition. And maybe that would facilitate like a large number of crossovers between Food Wars and My Hero Academia. And that's probably, honestly, just combining those two very different, like they're both school-based shonen competitive anime, but they're very, very different. My Hero Academia is not as competitive, but like they're super different that one's about people trying to become chefs and one's about people trying to become superheroes. So I think probably they would meet at some kind of cross-school thing. Maybe there's some kind of what would be a good competition that'd be like a middle ground between those two. Like if they couldn't do any kind of physical competition because one of the schools is made up of people with quirks and superpowers, and the other school is like you couldn't do like a cooking competition because the other school would have the advantage in that. But maybe there's some kind of like academic competition, like some kind of like, I don't know, like a spelling bee or something like that, where there's a more even playing ground, and then the schools are just competing that way, like the big superhero school and the big cooking school in Japan are having a competition or whatever. And so Vin is involved in the competition, and then Taki is brought in to judge again, like she does in Food Wars. And I'm having to make a lot of leaps here. This is a much harder one than the last one we did. So I think bringing the two schools together would be the first step. And honestly, if I were to do that, then you would want to just do all these crossovers back and forth between just this Food Wars character with this My Hero Academia character and this and that and this and that. But the challenge is for specifically Taki and Ren. So let's say Ren's in the competition. You can throw in his one character trait that I know that he encourages people to work together to like get like his UA High spelling team to like cooperate together or something. And he seems pretty like straight-laced, like a good guy, so I'm not gonna suggest, like you could say maybe he like tries to bribe the judge or something, but I don't think that's the way we want to do it. But let's say instead, let's say there's a story where the UA team, for whatever the competition is not working together. Like maybe the A and B classes are fighting. There's a lot of like internal rivalries within the students in My Hero Academia. So they're arguing. There's I don't remember his name, but there's a blonde character in the secondary class that's like really antagonistic. So maybe he's starting shit up, and then Vin like gives some kind of impassioned message to them. And Taki, as the judge, is watching, and she notices this, and like he catches her attention because of that. So then, you know, the contest plays out. Maybe Ren's team wins because of his encouragement, and then afterwards, there's some kind of thing where Taki and Ren run into each other outside of the competition, like after she's judged it already, and after his team won. And for the sake of this comic, he's our main character, I guess, or these two are our main characters. So he'll probably need to have some kind of fleshing out in terms of his personality. But, like, I'm struggling to figure out the best way for their characters to work, because all I know about him is that he's, like, nice and works well with others, and all I know about her is that she's, like, really cynical and like rude. But maybe let's say he like really earnestly thanks her for voting for their team or whatever in the competition, and she's like gets like tsundere flustered and is like, well, you know, I was just doing my job as a judge or whatever, and like she starts blushing, and he's like, oh, she's cute when she's flustered, and there's some kind of interaction backstage, but basically it leads to sex. Like, that's what we're building to in these things. The main struggle here was just to get them together. I think once you get them in the same room talking, then you can kind of ride it out pretty easily, because they're pretty basic personality types, so it's not that hard to get like the earnest young boy and the like cold tsundere older woman to kind of fall into some kind of like one-off stand type thing. And I think that basically meets the challenge, right? We got there. Once they're there and they have a little bit of chemistry, then you can pull it off. That one was harder than either of the other two. I don't know why that was so hard. It seems like it would have been a lot easier if they had both been students, but I think that works. Alternatively, maybe you could just have them meet outside of their schools somehow. Like, again, Taki's not in the school; she just judges for some of the contests. But maybe, like, I don't know. You could probably think of a few other ways to do it, but off the top of my head, that's the best I could come up with. So there you go. The big Food Wars My Hero Academia crossover that everyone's been clamoring for. Thank you guys for watching. I hope this episode was at least interesting, if nothing else. I'm glad you guys watched. I don't know when there'll be another one. I think it's safe to say I won't ever have 2 weeks in a row where I can get one out. I could be wrong about that, but probably, at the very least, it'll be every other week. But there might be times like this recently where there's just a couple weeks where I just don't get around to it. But if you're subscribed, or if you just check my posts on my site, you'll see when there's a new episode. So thanks for watching, and I hope whenever there is another one, I hope I'll see you guys for it. Bye.